Okay. Hare Krishna, welcome everyone. Thank you all for coming here for our daily Nityam Bhagavata Seva, a daily study of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And today we are on starting a new chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam. This is continuing the story of Sudama. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 81. We have the chapter summary and verses 1 through 2. So there's the summary. This chapter describes how Lord Krishna ate a morsel of flat rice brought by his friend Sudama and bestowed upon him wealth greater than that of the king of heaven. In the course of his loving talks, his friend Sudama, Lord Krishna said, "My dear Brahmana, have you brought any gift from me from home? I regard as very significant even the smallest offering from my loving devotee." But the poor Brahmana was ashamed to present Krishna with his meager gift of flat rice. However, since Lord Krishna is the super soul dwelling in all hearts, he knew why Sudama had come to visit him. So he grabbed a bundle of flat rice Sudama was hiding and ate a handful of it with great pleasure. He was out to eat a second morsel when Rukmini Devi stopped him. Feeling as if he had gone back to Godhead, Sudama spent that night comfortably in Lord Krishna's palace. The next morning he set off for home. As he passed along the highway, he thought of how fortunate he was to have been so honored by Sri Krishna. Absorbed in his meditation, Sudama arrived at the place where his home used to be, and he was struck with great wonder. Instead of a broken down hovel, he saw a great series of opulent palaces. While he stood astonished, a group of beautiful men and women came forward to greet him, singing with singing and music. The Brahmana's wife, wonderfully adorned with celestial jewelry, came out of the palace and welcomed him with great love and reverence. Sudama entered his home together with her, thinking that this extraordinary transformation must have been due to the Supreme Lord's mercy on him. From then on, Sudama lived his life amidst lavish wealth, yet he maintained his mood of detachment and constantly chanted the glories of Lord Krishna. In a short time, he broke off all bonds of bodily attachment and attained the kingdom of God. And so, text number 1 and 2. Shri Shuka Vacha Itam Dvita Mukhena Sahasankyattayan Hari Sarva Bhuta Mano Bhigya Smayamana Ubachatam Brahmano Brahmanam Krishna Bhagavan Prahasam Priyam Premna Nirikshane Naiva Prikshan Kalu Satam Gatihi. Lord Hari, Krishna, perfectly knows the hearts of all living beings, and he's especially devoted to the Brahmanas. While the Supreme Lord, the goal of all saintly persons, conversed in this way with the twice-born, best of the twice-born, he laughed and spoke the following words to that dear friend of his, the Brahmana Sudama, all while smiling and looking upon him with affection. Here's the purport. According to Srila Sridhar Swami, the words Sarva Bhuta Mano Bhigya indicate that since Lord Krishna knows the minds of everyone, He could tell at once that his friend Sudama had brought him some flat rice for him and was ashamed to present it. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti, further explanation on this verse, Lord Krishna smiled at this moment, thinking, yes, I'm going to make you show what you have brought for me. His smile then turned to laughter as he thought, as long as you keep going, as long as you're going to keep this precious gift, how long are you going to keep this precious gift hidden in your cloth? Krishna glanced towards the bundle hidden inside his friend's garment, telling Sudama by his loving glance, the veins showing through your emaciated skin and your ragged cloths astonished everyone present, but the symptoms of poverty will last only until tomorrow morning. Although Sri Krishna is Bhagavan, the supreme independent Lord, he is always pleased to reciprocate for those who are Priya, his cherished servants. As the indulgent patron of the Brahman class, he especially enjoys favoring the Brahmanas who are additionally qualified by unconditional devotion to him. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Vishtam Shtapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Katanchana Smite Yasmin Dushkaram Shukaram Bhavet Vismite Viparitam Shat Shri Chaitanya Namamitam. Hare Krishna. So if you go to a mango farmer, you can't really offer him mangoes. You can't go, here, my dear mango farmer, here's some mangoes I brought. Or if you go to a banana farmer, you can't really offer him some bananas. So what can you offer to Krishna? Krishna is Lord of everything. Actually, in the talk between Rukmini and Krishna, Krishna said, I have nothing. And Rukmini cleverly said, yes, you have nothing because everything is a part of you. There's therefore nothing outside of you. Like you have this verse in the Brahma Samhita, Ekyopaso rachitum jagaranda kotim yat shaktir asti jagaranta chayad yadantaha andantarasta paramanu chayantarastam govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. So within this one being, Ekyopaso Rachitum Jagaranda Kotim, all the Jagarandas, all the billions and billions of universes are present inside this one being. Ekyopaso Rachitum Jagaranda Kotim, Yakshaktir Asti Jagaranta Yad Anta. They're all inside him, Anta, interior, all within inside of him. And amazingly, this same supreme being is inside the atom in its fullest. Jagananta Andantarasta Paramanu, within the Paramanu, within the atom, the Lord is present. So the Lord in his form is of a super soul. He is present inside the atom. And then if you go inside the Lord, inside the atom, then you see trillions and trillions of universes full of atoms. And then you go inside one of those atoms, you see the Lord. And you go inside the Lord, you see billions of universes. And go inside the universes, you see billions of atoms. And you go inside one of those atoms, you see the Lord. And you go inside one of those, the Lord, you see billions and billions of universes, infinitely, continuously, like this. So what can you offer the Lord? What is there to offer? Like you have Duryodhan, he tried to figure out how can I get this? How can I engage my political knowledge to benefit me? So let me see if I can get Krishna indebted to me. Let me see if I can understand him. And so he heard that Krishna likes ladus. Krishna likes rasagulas, rasmalai. jalebis. And so he organized a lavish feast and golden cups, all these wonderful things. And he invited Krishna to come and eat. And Krishna came, and Krishna was there, and he said, "Krishna, I prepared this wonderful feast. I've have the best chefs in our kingdom. I made this wonderful feast." And Krishna said, "There's only two reasons why somebody eats. The first reason is they're hungry, and the second reason someone might eat is just out of a loving exchange." And I said, "I don't. We're not friends. I don't have a relationship with you, and I'm not hungry. So no, thank you. I'm not a beggar." And so he did not partake in his feast. And of course, you know the pastimes of Vidura and Vidura's wife. She is lovingly offering Krishna with great love. She peels this banana. She's so excited that the Supreme Lord is there, present with her. And what does she do? So you have Annabelle's iPad. Do you know what she does? What does Krishna do? So she is so lovingly, she's so excited. Krishna's there. Can you imagine Krishna comes to your house to eat? And so what does she do? She peels the banana and she throws the banana out and she gives Krishna the peel. Because she's so much inspired by this, his presence, that she doesn't even realize what she's doing. So instead of throwing out the peel and giving Krishna the banana, she gives Krishna the peel and throws out the banana. And Krishna's like, takes that peel and is, oh, no, no, no. Oh, he's so excited to eat this peel. So Krishna, he becomes very hungry due to the devotion of the devotee. As this verse from the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Patram pushpam palam toyam yome bhakta priyachati. The first part of the verse is some indication how simple it is to offer Krishna things. Everything is used in a singular term. He says, doesn't say patrani, pushpani. He says patram, just a flower, just a leaf. Actually, in this chapter, it's described that Krishna is so eager to accept our offerings that even things that are not meant to be offered as food, if you offer Krishna a flower, he may eat it. That's the Acharyas explain. He might just eat it. He's so excited to accept the offering. Actually, when I was in Vrindavan for the first time, I was there in 2001 as a brahmachari, and I saw that they offered the flower to the Lord, and they go around and they offer the flower to different people. And this one devotee, they would offer him the flower, and he would just go, and he would just eat it like Krishna. So Krishna becomes so eager to accept the offering. So the first thing he says, it's patram pushpam palam toyam. It's all in singular, just this little bit of water, just a flower, just a leaf, just a fruit, something that everyone has access to. But then this word bhakti is used twice. And that means that's what Krishna is hungry for. He's hungry for the devotion, to taste the devotion that has been offered by his devotees. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he writes this wonderful little essay. And it brings in the challenge towards the rationalists. One may say, well, God doesn't need anything. Why would he accept our offerings? Actually, it is, here, let's see. This is the question that was brought up. What is the need of offering prasad or bhoga, food, to the Lord? What's the purpose of eating that which has been offered to the Lord? And so this is listen very carefully. This is Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Honoring Mahaprasad is not only symbolic of the superior life of the Vaishnavas, but it is a part of worship which the ordinary theists cannot fully understand. Ordinary men are very much inclined to preserve the superiority of reason over the intuitive feelings of man toward the God of love. We must now proceed to show with healthy arguments that our intuitive feelings want us to offer everything we eat to the Lord of our hearts. And we must first examine the arguments of the antagonist. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur is going to present some arguments, anti-prasadam arguments. Down with prasadam, they say. The rationalist state that God is infinite without wants, and consequently it is foolish to offer eatables to such a being. It is sacrilege to offer created things to the Creator and thereby degrade the divinity of God, treating him as a human being. These are reasonable arguments indeed, and one who has heard them will certainly be inclined to declare to the others, down with Mahaprasadam. These conclusions, which may appear reasonable, are dry and destructive. They tend to separate us from all connection in worshiping God. If you say the infinite wants nothing, you forbid all contemplation and prayer. The infinite doesn't want your grateful expressions or flattery. Utter word to the unconditioned Lord, and you're sure to degrade him into a conditioned being. Hymns, prayers, and sermons are all over. Shut your temple door and church and gates, because the rationalists has advised you to do so. Believe a creative principle, and you've done your duty. Oh, what a shame. What a dreadful fall. Theists, be aware of these degrading principles. Now, the rationalist appears in another form and allows prayers, sermons, and psalms and church going, saying that all these things are wanted for the improvement of the soul, but God doesn't want them at all. We're glad that the rationalist has come towards us and will make further approaches in the course of time. So he's saying, oh, it's good for you, but it's not, God doesn't need it. He doesn't need that. Yes, as the progressive rationalist has admitted a very broad principle in theology, whatever we do towards God is for our benefit, not for the benefit of God, who's not in want of anything. However, the rationalist is a rationalist still and will continue to be so as long as he seeks self-interest. We know for certain that religion promises to give eternal happiness to man, and it's impossible to conceive any religion which is not based on self-interest. This view, however, smells of utilitarianism and can never be theism. We must love God for God's sake, even if our actions appear unreasonable. Our love must be without any goal concerning ourselves. This love must be a natural emotion to the deity as our well-wisher, without inference or experience. Salvation, as dear as it is, should not be the object of this love. What then about other forms of happiness? Love of God is its own reward. Salvation, as a concomitant consequence, must be a servant of love, and we must not look upon it as the main goal. If the rationalist is prepared to believe this, he becomes a theist of the Vaishnav class. But a mere assuming of the name is of no consequence. And he continues. Though fully aware that the Lord is completely unconditioned, our holy and sweet principle of love takes a different view than that of the rationalists. Reason says one thing, but love prescribes the opposite. Reason tells me that God has no sorrow, but love sees God in the tears for his sons who are misled to evil. Reason tells me that the strict laws of God of reward and punishment punish me in a cold manner. But love reveals that God slackens his laws for the repentant soul. Reason tells me, with all of his improvements, man will never touch God. But love preaches that on the conversion of the soul in the state of spiritual womanhood, God, unconditioned as he is, accepts eternal marriage with the liberated soul. Reason tells me that God is an infinite space and time, but love describes that the all-beautiful Lord is sitting before us like a respective relative and enjoying the pleasures of society. As a father in his amusement with his young children, God is spreading all sorts of delicious food all over the earth and is expecting his sons to gather them for their own benefit. But the loving children, out of their holy and unmixed love, gathered all the scattered blessings and with strong feelings of love, regardless of the reason, offer all the blessings to the Father whom they love more than their lives. The Father, again, in reply to their kind feelings, gives back the offerings to the children and kindly tells them, "Oh, my children, these blessings are intended for you. Out of your natural love, bring them to me for my enjoyment. But naturally, I have no wants for you to supply. I have, however, accepted that part of your offering which is for me. What is that part? Your unmixed love and unbiased affections, for which I'm exceedingly anxious. Take back these sweet things and enjoy them." This process of unbiased love, which dry reason can never approach, sanctifies the food that we take and brings us harmless enjoyment every day of our natural life. Ramananda. Yeah. Sorry. This is a system of sincere worship, which theists of a higher class alone can act upon. We cannot express the joy that we felt when we took Mahaprasadam in the temple. The holiness we attach to it, it is its sweetness, and often we pray that all men may enjoy it. So that this is Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He's speaking at the temple of Jagannath Puri. Can you put this little essay? Yes, we'll put it in the WhatsApp group. Thank you very much, Jimuna Jaya. So in this pastime, you see that there's like many little subtle things that are happening. The glance of Rukmini, the taking of the, there's many things that are communicated with just with the glance. And you'll see within the Bhagavatam and also within the Ramayana, you find so many wonderful, subtle things that are happening. For example, when Krishna was being picked up by Putana, he closed his eyes. Does anybody know what are the reasons that Krishna closed his eyes? So Srila Prabhupada gives a few reasons, and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives us a few other reasons as well. So Srila Prabhupada said he didn't want to see the face of this sinful person who kills children. But another reason Krishna didn't close his eyes is that he didn't want to frighten her. As she picked up, it was like it's like she's picking a dangerous snake, or something like very unseen potency, like a fire covered by coals and smoke. You don't understand the heat and the danger underneath. And so to not frighten her, he closed his eyes. Another reason that it's considered forbidden to kill a woman. There's this a brahmana, a woman, an elderly. These in Vedic culture, they're not to be severely punished in this way. But she was not just some woman; she was a vampire. As it's described that she was fond of drinking the blood of children. She's the first vampire mentioned in the Krishna book. So she is this Rakshasi. She's also known as a Pishachi, or witch. And so she had to be killed, but Krishna, he did not want to make um, the violence auspicious, so by his auspicious glance, so he closed his eyes. And another reason Prabhupada gave is that he just took her to be one of his nurses, his wet nurses. So she just closed his eyes. And another reason Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur gives is that to show the fearfulness of a small child. Actually, you find this, we're going to go into some pastimes of Sita and Hanuman. And we said when Hanuman appeared in a very, very small form when he went to approach Sita in the garden in Lanka, he appeared in this very, very, very small form, very, very cute form. He hid behind a leaf and he spoke the beautiful pastimes of Ram. He was so small. And actually, what he was really wanting Sita to treat him as the son. He wanted that Vatsalya Bhav. He was very hungry for that. And when you see something very small with big, cute eyes, you automatically you feel this Vatsalya. Vatsa means like a calf. You feel as soon as you see a calf, how they're like even like Instagram channels you can watch where it's just pictures of beautiful, cute little calves. And immediately you feel this parental affection there. And so Hanuman, began to speak the Ramayana. And she's looking, who is speaking? Who is speaking? Actually, this is how we should speak the Ramayana. That Ram or how we should speak the Bhagavatam. Krishna is first, and the speaker, who's the speaker? We don't know who the speaker is. The speaker is in the background. Sometimes you see in India the posters for the Bhagavad Saptaha, and it's a big picture of the person's face, the speaker, and then a very tiny little picture of Krishna or a tiny picture of Ram. But it should be actually the opposite. It goes in the other direction. Speaker first, and the speaker in the background. So she's looking. And then finally she sees this little form, this little tiny monkey appears in front of her. And she turns her head. Just out of, like Krishna says, it says, Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur says he closed his eyes out of fright, the fearfulness of a small child. And the last reason also is given to avoid seeing the inauspicious death of Putana. But then she asked Hanuman, did you feel bad that I turned my head and closed my eyes? And Hanuman said, what was worth hearing, you heard. Pastimes of Ram. And what was worth seeing, you saw. So you turned away. I wasn't worth seeing, but what I was saying was worth hearing. So you have these all these little small things that happen. For example, Sita was sitting there in that garden right before Hanuman was witnessing this. And when Ravana appears, she takes a blade of grass and she throws it in between them. And the Acharyas give 13 reasons why Sita threw this blade of grass. So here's some of the reasons. Well, as a royalty, there's always a separation, like a veil between the parapurusha, the other persons. This is not my husband. This is just some other person. There's some veil that separates her from the general public. So this will be the veil, this blade of grass. Also, he has come to my house. Although he's an enemy, I will give him asana. This is your seat. Or you have this Suvarna Lanka. You have this golden Lanka, beautiful palace, everything. But in the end, you'll be lying dead with just a blade of grass in your mouth. Or you are acting as an animalistic person, a dvipadapashu. So why don't you eat some grass? Get used to it. This is what animals eat. They go around eating grass. You should start right now. Get used to it. Or my Lord, previously Bali uh, had offered everything to the Lord. And to make his promise, they took out the kamandalu, this water pot, and they just like you do achaman, you have these different ceremonies. So to establish this promise, he was going to take a sip of water and chant a prayer to as he's offering everything to the Lord. But his guru, Shukracharya, took a small form of a bug and plugged up the spout of that kamandalu. And the Lord, Vamana, took up a blade of grass and made that blade of grass a brahmastra and blinded the eye of Shukracharya. And thus the water came out and Bali. So he said to my Lord, can for my husband, this grass can become a brahmastra and destroy you. And previously, in his previous incarnation, the Lord appeared in a pillar. He can appear right now in this blade of grass. So this is just some of the reasons for this exchange. You find within the pastimes, there's all these very dynamic, very subtle things that are happening. There's so much dynamism. You find here that we've read Krishna's, what was it said in the purport? Sarva Bhuta Mano Bhikya. He's all the bhutas, all the beings, Mano Bhikya. He knows their minds. And also you find that the devotees know the minds of the Lord. They know them, as the Lord knows the devotee's mind, the devotee knows the mind of the Lord. And he is always trying to please. So you find, they're actually, if you go look up on podcasts, you can find this wonderful lectures, two lectures called Stand Strong by Shubha Vilas. Or you just go to ISKCON of DC and look up Stand Strong, part 1 and part 2. And he gives so many of these wonderful little subtle things that happen. Like, for example, Hanuman is there and he is first thing, he sees that he's finally there to achieve his mission, and Sita's just about to commit suicide. There are 3 suicide attempts in the Mahabharata. The first one was when the monkeys they pass through this cave that has heavenly delights, and then they finally get to the other side, and they just see they're just at a loss. They don't know where to go. They've explored all that they have done, and they know that the entire mission seems to be a fail. And so they begin to narrate the pastimes of Lord Ram. And they finally come to the pastime of Jatayu. And that's when Sampati hears it and appears and said, "You're speaking about my brother." Actually, and he is the one that instructs them about Ravana flying over like this. And by hearing the Ramayana, that whole suicide attempt failed. The next one was Bharat. Bharat said, if Ram doesn't come back by this time, I will commit suicide. And Hanuman is rushes because actually Sita says, I won't go to back to Ayodhya without the wives of all the Vanaras. They should also come. And Ram is like, but they might take a long time to get ready, and Bharat's in great danger. And he sends Hanuman there. And Hanuman goes and he speaks the pastimes of Ram. And so similarly, Hanuman is speaking to Sita these pastimes, and it saves her from the suicide attempt. And he offers her a jewel. And usually when you offer something, you just put it in their hand. But he doesn't want to be the giver, the master, he wants it to appear as a servant. So he puts his hand like this, cupped hand, and she takes it out of his hand, that she is accepting service. Or similarly, when the Hanuman comes back, he bows down to the feet of the Lord. And the Lord puts his hands on Hanuman. And they just stand there for quite some time. Because he knows once he gets up, when you hug somebody or hold them, then they'll depart. So he said, let me just keep my hands on his feet and let him keep his hands on my shoulders or my head. Just let me just stay like that. And there are many, many different reasons that are there. Once you have this pastime where the Lord says, I love you twice as much as Lakshman. And he says to Lakshman, how does that make you feel? He said, of course. I observed Sita for so many years. And still, 24 years, I've served her. And she still had some doubt of my character. This pastime when Ram was missing. Or she had, I gotta open the door for my son. 1 second. He left his keys. Okay. Did it. We were saying twice as much as Lakshman. But Hanuman, in 2 minutes, gained Sita's full confidence. What I couldn't do in 24 years, he did in 2 minutes. And then Ram asks Hanuman, well, how does this make you feel? Okay, well, my son is writing. Come in. Hold on. And Lakshman says, Hanuman says, well, when you say I love somebody, let me see. Hold on. Okay. You say, I love this person more than my own life. So if you're saying Hanuman, I love him twice as much as of Lakshman, that means Lakshman is your life. And I'm just another person. And so Hanuman he's always seeing everything in relation to the glories of the devotee of Krishna and Ram, of course. So I'll stop here, see if there's any comments, questions, or reflections.
Thank you, Prabhu. Wonderful class. Temple Room, do you think you can reflect? You have 3 minutes.
I wanted to ask quickly. I wanted to ask quickly the thing he was quoting from the beginning. God has, when reason does this, but love does that. Where's that from, Prabhu? I missed that. I missed where you said.
Bhaktivinoda Thakur.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
That's great. What's the? Can you put in the chat? Can someone or Ananda Bihari? Could you remember and then text me later?
Yeah.
You owe me, dude. You owe me.
Yeah.
All right. That's great. That was wonderful. Wonderful selection. Unbelievable. Haribol.
Temple Room.
While we wait for the
Yes,
temple room, I
right.
just wanted to share quickly that, yeah, at Satsurt Maharaj's house, they have a little Chota Gopal, and Satsurt Maharaj doesn't let them offer him flowers because he might put them in his mouth of the class.
Thank you. It's a very common kind of dilemma. How much common sense do I have to have as a devotee? How much spontaneous love am I supposed to have as a devotee? How to balance the two? Does one negate the other? Thank you. Adi Purusha.
Hare Krishna, can you hear us okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic class as always, my God. It's impossible to add anything, we can comment on it. The Ramayana, very, very interesting how Krishna engages in the pastimes in the Ramayana. I've seen some film about Ramayana, a couple of them are done so well that each scene, somebody says something and then they look at each of the different characters and how they're responding. And there's just so many very sweet and subtle loving exchanges in the Ramayana, right? You've seen that, right? How much Dasa left his body out of separation for Ram. And how Lakshman just, Sita said, I can't stay in the palace. I'll go before you in the forest and push down the twigs so that your feet don't, you know, I'd rather be in the forest in the jungle with you than alone in the palace. So many nice, sweet, loving exchanges. It's time for class. We only have 2 minutes here. Okay, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Nityananda Chandra. Thank you. You're the king of subtleties and layers and layers and layers of understanding the philosophy. Thank you. Isaiah looks like a jungle dweller. Living in jungle, Isaiah, today.
I have a few more things from the Ramayana if you want to know, want to hear.
I want to hear.
So when he got that hug from Lord Ram, Hanuman vowed, I'll never die. If this body's been hugged, that's, if we find the corrupted expression of this, like someone gets a hug from a rock star. Oh, I'll never shower for the next 10 days or something. But Hanuman just, I'm just not going to die. There's also, Hanuman felt that the whole time he was been directed by Lord Ram. When he went back, Ram said, why did you burn Lanka? I didn't tell you to burn Lanka. He said, yeah, everything I did was under your direction. And so he explained that, when Hanuman jumped to Lanka, that there are many pastimes that happen in between that jump, but it's actually was all done within one breath of Ram. He just said Ra and Ma is when he landed. Now, one would say there's so many different conversations that are going on during that jump. He's meeting Surasa, so many different, like the demons appear, different kind of monsters appear, and there's different pastimes. But as we have this verse in Brahma Samhita, Angyani Yasa Sakalendriya Vrittimanti, Hanuman can speak from other parts of his body. So with his mouth, he was Ra, Ma. The jump was just Ra, Ma. But the other conversations, he was speaking with other parts of his body. So he was, like we said, he wanted to be treated as a son. And so after he fulfilled his mission, he told Sita that he was hungry. So she had him go to the orchard, and she started eating all these fruits. And the Rakshashis started yelling, Hari, 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 because Hari is another word for monkey. There are many different terms for monkey. And so he was very happy they're chanting. And then all these, and before this, Sita was asking, well, he was saying, why don't you come back with me? And she said, well, she didn't want to say, well, you're so tiny. So she said, like, well, are all the monkeys this small? Because, he's like the fit in the palm of your hand. He was such a tiny, tiny little creature. And so then he appeared like this very huge form. And then she's bewildered. She says, well, what's your size? What's your actual size? Your natural size? If you see somebody who is like a little palm size and they're a giant, you're like, what's your real size? And he said, I'm actually very insignificant, but for the service of the Lord, I can become any size. And so this is actual humility. Humility, we hear the pastimes of great acharyas where they say they're useless, and this is their very deep internal mood. But oftentimes we may take that, oh, I'm useless, I can't do this service or that. But actually the real humility is I'm useful. I'm for the Lord's service, I can become any size. And you see Prabhupada's humility. He was like Krishnadas Kaviraj. He speaks such a humble way, but he was very useful. At the age of 90, he does such an amazing work, the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So the true humility is not that I'm useless, but actually I'm useful. And so at that garden, he starts fighting all the Rakshasas. But he's like wanting to fight. What is what's the indication of Ram? What am I supposed to do? What does Ram want me to do? And he says, well, actually, I won't really know what to do unless I'm myself in a kind of helpless condition. If I'm just free, then I won't really get the indication. So he allowed himself to be bound, and he becomes tied up. And he said, let me just see what happens. Ram will make the plans. And so Ravana was there, and they were like, kill him, kill him, kill him. And Vibhishan was like, okay, you can harass the messenger a little bit, but you can't kill him. And she's like, oh, monkeys are attached to their tails. Cut off his tail. No, burn his tail. And so they wrapped his tail with cloth and oil and set it on fire. And he's like, okay, Ravana is making all the plans. He's getting the oil, he's getting the cloth. Okay, I see what Ram wants me to do. He wants me to burn Lanka. So he just took this as the indication of the Lord. So a little extra there.
Wow, that's profound. Yeah, sometimes it's hard to hear what Krishna is trying to tell us when everything is figured out, we think. But it can be heard very clearly when we're desperate for guidance. For that. Yeah.
And when Hanuman was traveling, he saw that every place was a temple. He said, what was the temple that was worship? Every home was a temple because everyone was worshiping their body. And every except for Vibhishan's house, every house was the deity of Sharirata Devata. They're taking the body as a temple. And he says, okay, you take the body as a temple, then what's the ultimate destination of the body? Cremation. So let me just burn it all down.
On this high note, thank you, Nityananda Chandra.
Let's burn it all down.
That was like when you stick around for the movie for the last trailers and you get a little extra. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Nityananda Chandra, for wonderful. You're a wonderful storyteller. You go beyond the layers. It was giving us things to meditate on. Thank you for that.
When Chandra gives a class, the roof of my house catches on fire. And I have to try to maintain that household life.
What about your tail?
I cut that off a long time ago so as not to expose who I really am.
Yeah.
So
Very
this is about 5-10% of the class of Shubha Vilas Prabhu. I shared the link in the chat. His
Thank you.
Ramayan.
Thank
His
you.
Ramayan.
The credit goes to Shubha Vilas Prabhu, right? Nityananda Chandra. We're not taking any credit for this class. Thank you. Would anyone like to reflect? We can take one more reflection. I'd like to reflect. I really like to point out everything we do for Krishna is for our benefit. It's not that we're benefiting Krishna. We're engaging in a loving relationship, but it's ultimately for our benefit when we're serving Krishna. And I had a question, Nityananda Chandra, a quick one. So we know that the 5 primary rasas are, there is the parental rasa, conjugal rasa, friendship, servitorship, and neutrality. In what rasa was Hanuman?
He was in servitorship. He was very
He
sad.
wanted to be treated like a child. Is that a rasa? Is that bona fide?
And he wanted that Vatsalya towards him, but he saw himself as the servant.
Okay.
And in Brihad Bhagavatamrita, it's described that, they ask, well, not they ask, but it's shown that everyone, whatever rasa that they're in, even though there may be a higher rasa, whatever's natural for that individual, they're fully satisfied in that position. It's not that Hanuman's like feeling like a little left out because he's not a gopi, or fully satisfied in what's their natural relationship.
Like Nityabada. I'm fully satisfied as a Nityabada.
Eternally bound soul.
Yes. Fully satisfied.
Okay, Isaiah, you ready?
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Isaiah. Thank you, Annabelle. Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
All the childlike souls in this call, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.